Tell me when you start
Yeah, we're recording. This is so stupid.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Two Psychopaths Read Twilight, the very first one.
I don't want to do this.
I want to read it so we can make fun of it, because I think this is a good bonding exercise,
Really,
making
though.
fun of shit that we hate in order to reinforce our hatred of it.
But really though, we just got off of Holy Terror. Do we really need Mormon propaganda?
Yes, we need Mormon propaganda now.
I'm gonna need some more booze.
And now, a dramatic reading of Stephanie Meyer's Twilight. I'd never given much thought to how I would die, though I had reason enough in the last few months. But even if I had, I would not have imagined it like this. I stared without breathing across the long room into the eyes of the hunter, and he looked pleasantly back at me.
Well, that's
Surely it was a good way. Pleasantly. Surely it was a good way to die, in place of someone else, someone I loved.
No, it's
even.
not.
That ought to count for something. I knew that if I'd never gone to Forks, I wouldn't be facing death now. But as terrified as I was, I couldn't bring myself to regret the decision. When life offers you a dream so far beyond any of your expectations, it's not reasonable to grieve when it comes to an end.
Yes, it is.
The hunter smiled. The hunter smiled in a friendly way as he sauntered forward to kill her.
Oh. Just the preface.
Oh, Bella's
The preface, and already it hurts.
plebeian.
Just, when life offers you a dream so far beyond your expectations, and then you don't grieve when it comes to an end. Yes, yes you do, because now you don't have the wonderful dream. That's what you do.
Chapter 1.
First sight.
Chapter 1.
Rambo
My
2,
mother drove me
first
to the
sight.
airport. Stop it.
No.
My mother drove me to the airport with the windows rolled down. It was 75 degrees in Phoenix, the sky a perfect cloudless blue. I was wearing my favorite shirt, sleeveless, white eyelet lace. I was wearing it as a farewell gesture. My carry-on item was a parka.
Well, that's the idea. I feel like this is going to turn into a Madonna horror complex.
Pretty much. I don't see how her favorite shirt is her farewell gesture.
Like, why would it ever be your farewell gesture?
Why is a shirt a farewell gesture? That's not how it works.
Oh, but you
Wearing
understand.
something
You don't
sentimental
understand.
is a farewell gesture.
You don't understand. Mormon propaganda.
In
But
the
what
Olympic
is
Peninsula.
What is better than freaking wearing pure white? Oh.
In the Olympic Peninsula of northwest Washington state, a small town named Forks exists under a near constant cover of clouds. It rains on this inconsequential town more than any other place in the United States of America. It was from this town and its gloomy, omnipresent shade that my mother escaped with me when I was only a few months old. It was in this town that I had been compelled to spend a month every summer until I was 14. That was the year I finally put my foot down. These past 3 summers, my dad, Charlie, vacationed with me in Florida for 2 weeks instead. She is...
What? That was the
It
year
was
I
to
finally
Forks
put my
I now...
foot
Hold on.
down.
It was to Forks that I now exiled myself, an action that I took with great horror. I detested Forks. Why did you detest Forks? I mean, she's
Why
a
did you
stubborn
come
brat.
back? Why?
Her
Okay.
dad... She's choosing to move to Forks.
So, but then why?
She hates it for literally no reason. She's given no reason to hate the town.
This is. Okay.
And she's done nothing but be a spoiled brat. I have to go spend time with my dad. I don't want to spend time with my dad. I have to spend a whole month there. It's not like me, Bella, who doesn't have any friends, and I complain about never having had any friends, would have any friends to miss me while I was gone. That's what I'm thinking of right now.
I'm thinking of her just being like, oh,
and then,
I have to do this.
And then her dad, instead, just to make her life easier, decided he would go vacation with her for 2 weeks in California. And as anyone who's ever read the book knows, Charlie is like the sheriff of the town. He's a cop. So that's probably pretty hard to get 2 straight up weeks off of work to go to California to stay with your fucking prissy ass daughter. Because we all know that she's an ungrateful shit.
But Stephenie Meyer, logic, and Mormon propaganda. That's all we have to know. Stephenie Meyer's logic.
I loved Phoenix. I loved the sun and the blistering heat. I loved the vigorous, sprawling city. Bella, my mom said to me, Bella, my mom said to me, the last of 1,000 times before I got on the plane, you don't have to do this. My mom looks like me, except with short hair and laugh lines. I felt a spasm of panic as I stared at her wide, childlike eyes. How could I leave my loving, erratic, harebrained mother to fend for herself? Of course she had Phil now, so the bills would probably get paid. There would be food in the refrigerator, gas in her car, and someone to call when she got lost. But still, I want to go, I lied. I'd always been a bad liar. But I'd been saying this lie so frequently lately that it sounded almost convincing now. Tell Charlie I said hi. I will.
You don't want to go, but you're still going. Everybody's telling you you don't have to go.
Yeah.
Why
I
are
will.
you going? There is
I will.
No reason.
I'll see you soon, she insisted. You can come home whenever you want. I'll come right back as soon as you need me. But I could see the sacrifice in her eyes behind the promise. Can we just talk for a second about that one sentence right there? But I could see the sacrifice in her eyes behind the promise.
I'm sacrificing so much to be able to spend time with my daughter. Yeah.
The sacrifice in her eyes behind the promise. Can we just talk about how janky-ass that sentence is?
It's very janky.
It's a janky-ass sentence.
Like,
I just feel like she scrambled the words.
If I were to take notes, I would have, right now, we would have written, what, about 15 times in a row.
I mean, the sentence would just sound better if she said, behind her eye, behind the promise, I could see the sacrifice in her eyes. Instead of this janky-ass shit that don't make sense because she didn't want to put a damn comma. Don't worry about me, I urged. It'll be great. I love you, Mom. She hugged me tightly for a minute, and then I got on the plane, and she was gone. It's a 4-hour flight from Phoenix to Seattle, another hour in a small plane up to Port Angeles, and then an hour drive back down to Forks. Flying doesn't bother me. Yeah, in the car with Charlie, though, I was a little bothered. I was a little worried about. So thank you for telling us that it's a 4-hour flight, and then another hour, and then some hours. So you have to be fucking moving for 6 hours. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
It does not sound like anything problem.
You don't have to tell me. You really don't have to tell us that you're gonna be moving for 6 hours. I mean, are you gonna describe all 6 hours in detail? Why do you have to tell us this passage of time? It's really not gonna matter. Why are you worried about the hour in the car with Charlie?
This is the
opposite of problem.
This is the opposite of problem. This is the exact opposite of the problem that we had with freaking Holy Terror.
It didn't tell you enough, and this is telling us way too much.
Like, yes, this may not be a visual medium, but you don't need to tell us everything. Just be like, I got off the plane. It's been 4 hours, and it was the longest 4 hours of my life. But the next one will be longer still, as I have to ride with my dad. Oh, Dad, you gotta hold me back.
Yeah. Charlie had been fairly nice about the whole thing. He seemed genuinely pleased that I was coming to live with him for the first time with any degree of permanence. He'd already gotten me registered for school and was going to help me get a car. but it was sure to be awkward with Charlie. Neither of us was what anyone would call verbose, and I didn't know what there was to say regardless. I knew he was more than a little confused by my decision, like my mother before me. I hadn't made a secret of my distaste for... Like my mother before me, I hadn't made a secret of my distaste for forks.
Oh.
But see, she talks about, oh, my dad, and she's, like, complaining about him, and all he's done is nice things. He's like, oh, see, I set up your room for you, and here, I'm gonna help you get a car, and I've already registered you for school and everything. And he's happy that you're there, and she can't fucking be bothered to be happy at all.
Now I re-understand why Kristen Stewart was the perfect choice for Bella.
Because she's devoid of all emotion?
Yes. Well, like, I don't
know, maybe it was just the role she was trying to play. Maybe she literally was trying to be Bella.
There's only one movie I've ever seen where she has emotion, and that's Zathura.
That's what?
The movie Zathura.
I haven't seen that.
It's like
American Ultra looks like it might be good. American Ultra looks like it might be good.
I haven't seen it, but like Zathura is
I haven't seen it.
Zathura is Jumanji, but in space.
Okay.
It's okay.
Alright, when I landed in Port Angeles, it was raining. I didn't see it as an omen, just unavoidable. I'd already said my goodbyes to the sun. Pointless paragraph. Charlie was waiting for me in the cruiser. This I was expecting, too. Charlie is Police Chief Swan to the good people of Forks.
Okay, now,
my primary motivation behind...
As soon as you read that sentence for the first time, everybody suddenly realizes that you are a bitch. Because they're like, oh, you're complaining that you had to spend time with him and that he is coming to spend time with you when he's the police chief.
Yeah. My primary motivation behind buying a car, despite the scarcity of my funds, was that I refused to be driven around in a car with red and blue lights on top. Nothing slows down traffic like a cop. No, nothing actually speeds up traffic like a cop. Have you ever seen people run from, like, just move out of the way when a cop puts his lights on? That's literally all your dad has to do. You're late for school, he just puts his fucking lights on and rushes you there. I mean, it's not fucking hard. No one fucks up around a cop. They just don't. Stupid bitch. Maybe it was different in 2005, but, I mean, I really doubt it was that different in 2005.
Well, I mean, in 2005, the idea of a Republican candidate saying he's okay with gay marriage seemed impossible, but here it's happening now, so...
Yeah, but I'm talking about cop-wise. Things haven't really changed.
No, cop-wise, everything looks a lot more brutal, but that's just because the media sensationalizes it.
Yeah. Charlie gave me an awkward, one-armed hug when I stumbled my way off the plane. It's good to see you, Bells, he said, smiling as he automatically caught and steadied me. You haven't changed much. How's Renee? Mom's fine. It's good to see you too, Dad. I wasn't allowed to call him Charlie to his face. Yeah, because that's disrespectful, you twat. I had only a few bags. Most of my Arizona clothes.
About calling my dad by his name.
Yeah, I would never, ever call my dad Mike. I would never call him by his first name. Ever. That's really disrespectful. I would never call my mom by her first name either. That's just... I mean, at least it'd be one thing if your parent was deadbeat and totally had nothing to do with you in your life, ever, but from what we've seen, Charlie's only tried to be in her life and try to be there for her.
Like, so far, we don't have any reason to agree with her on anything.
Yep. I only had a few bags.
I mean, hell, she
Most
likes
of my Arizona
the blistering
clothes.
heat of Phoenix.
Most of my Arizona clothes were too permeable for Washington. My mom and I had pulled our resources to supplement my winter wardrobe, but it was still scanty. It all fit easily into the trunk of the cruiser. I found a good car for you. Really cheap, he announced when we were strapped in. What kind of car? I was suspicious by the way he said, a good car for you, as opposed to just a good car. Well, it's a truck, actually. A Chevy. Where'd you find it? Do you remember Billy Black down at La Push? La Push is a tiny Indian reservation on the coast. No. He used to go fishing with us during the summer, Charlie prompted. That would explain why I didn't remember him. I do a good job of blocking painful, unnecessary things from my memory.
Oh, like everything you've done so far?
Yes, because spending time
That's why she's
with
such a
your
blank
dad
slate.
is painful and unnecessary.
So that's why she's such a blank slate for the reader to put herself into her shoes.
Because she's done nothing but, like, she's such a bitch. She's literally a bitch. No, she's not even a block. She's a bitch.
Oh,
she is
a self-insert.
She is literally a.
She is
literally a cunt. She's a cunt.
I don't like that word, but yes, she is one. That word is.
I don't like it either. But
that's one of the two words I have trouble saying because they're so bad. It's like, ah.
I don't know what the other word is.
The N word. I don't like saying the N word.
Oh, the N word. Okay. I thought we were just talking about, like, just swear words, not even, like racial.
I consider that a swear.
I don't consider it a swear. I just consider it a derogatory term. I don't really use derogatories that much.
Of the
not
racial
the
slurs, you know what I think is the most lazy of all of them? China man. You just put China and man together.
I don't really think it's that derogatory.
It's kind of lazy, and it gives you the idea of where he's from.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay. Washing the first pot out. I'll wash the strainer and the small pot, but I'm not washing the big pot. No. Yes, I'm trying to record. God damn. He's in a wheelchair now, Charlie continued when I... So he can't drive anymore, and he offered to sell me his truck cheap. What year is it? I could see from his change of expression that this was the question he was hoping I wouldn't ask. Well, Billy's done a lot of the work on the engine. It's only a few years old, really. I hope he didn't think so little to me as to believe that I would give up that easily. When did he buy it? He bought it in 1984, I think. Did he buy it new? Well, no, I think it was new in the early 60s or late 50s at the earliest. He admitted sheepishly.
I'm gonna stop you right now. You bitch. He got you a car. Do not complain.
Yeah, and he just said that the engine itself is only a few years old.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's
just because
important.
The shell of the car is old doesn't mean the inside is old too.
It's like Bumblebee from the first Transformers movie.
I fucking know.
I hate that movie so much.
Dad, I don't really know anything about cars. I wouldn't be able to fix it if anything went wrong, and I couldn't afford a mechanic. Really, Bella, the thing runs great. They don't build them like that anymore. The Thing, I thought to myself. It had possibilities. As a nickname at the very least.
Only if you paint it orange.
How cheap is cheap? How cheap is cheap? After all, that was the part I couldn't compromise on. Well, honey, I kind of already bought it for you, as a homecoming gift. Charlie peeked sideways at me with a hopeful expression. Wow, free. You didn't need to do that, Dad. I was going to buy myself a car. I don't mind. I want you to be happy here. He was looking ahead at the road when he said this. Charlie wasn't comfortable with expressing his emotions out loud. I inherited that from him, so I was looking straight ahead as I responded. That's really nice, Dad. Thanks. I really appreciate it. No need to add that my being happy in Forks is an impossibility. He didn't need to suffer along with me. And I never looked a free truck in the mouth. Or engine. She fucking did.
Okay, honey. You just got a free car and you're complaining. You are a bitch to your dad. And he got you a car.
He's done nothing but nice things. I know.
I hate you so much.
Well, now, you're welcome, he mumbled, embarrassed by my thanks. We exchanged a few more comments on the weather, which was wet, and that was pretty much it for the conversation. We stared out the windows in silence. It was beautiful, of course, I couldn't deny that. Everything was green. The trees, their trunks covered with moss, their branches hanging with a canopy of it, the ground covered with ferns. Even the air filtered down greenly through the leaves. Ah!
It was too green.
The air filtered down greenly. It was too green. An alien planet. She just called it beautiful and then was like, no, it's not.
Oh my god, the writing is so schizophrenic.
I'm schizophrenic and I don't even do this. Eventually, we made it to Charlie's. He still lived in the small, two-bedroom house that he bought with my mother in the early days of their marriage. Those were the only kinds of days their marriage had. The early ones. There, parked on the street in front of the house that never changed, was my new to me, truck. It was a faded red color, with big, rounded fenders and a bulbous cab. To my intense surprise, I loved it. I didn't know if it would run, but I could see myself in it. Plus, it was one of those solid iron affairs that never gets damaged. The kind you see at the scene of an accident, paint unscratched, surrounded by pieces of the foreign car it had destroyed. That's lovely imagery.
Now we know.
Wow, Dad! I love it! Thanks! Now my horrific day tomorrow would be just that much less dreadful. I wouldn't be faced with the choice of either walking 2 miles in the rain to school or accepting a ride in the Chief's cruiser. You should have had that realization earlier. I'm glad you like it, Charlie said gruffly, embarrassed again. It only took one trip to get all my stuff upstairs. I got the west bedroom that faced out over the front yard. The room was familiar. It had belonged to me since I was born. The wooden floor, the light blue walls, the peaked ceiling, and the yellow lace curtains around the window. These were all part of my childhood. The only changes Charlie had ever made was switching the cribs for a bed and adding a desk as I grew. The desk now held a second-hand computer, with the phone line for the modem stapled along the floor to the nearest phone jack. This was the stipulation from my mother, so that we could stay in touch easily. The rocking chair from my baby days was still in the corner. There was only one small bathroom at the top of the stairs, which I would have to share with Charlie. I was trying not to dwell too much on that fact. Damn, prima donna, you need a fucking bathroom too, for yourself.
Well, you know,
one of the best things.
In case that way her dad doesn't walk in on her when she's showering. Really, honey.
Charlie's.
Get over yourself.
She just. And the thing about Charlie is that he's so, like, he's such so like almost like a sheepish, bashful, cool character that he would like. He's the type of character that, like, you know the people who they see the bathroom lights not on but they still knock on the door.
Yeah.
He's that person.
And so you have no problem there, literally.
I know. One of the best things about Charlie is he doesn't hover. He left me alone to unpack and get settled, a feat that would have been altogether impossible for my mother. It was nice to be alone, not to have to smile and look pleased, a relief to stare dejectedly out the window at the sheeting rain and let just a few tears escape. I wasn't in the mood to go on a real crying jag. I would save that for bedtime, when I would have to think about the coming morning. Why is she crying?
I don't know.
Why is she crying? She's just... Seattle. Forks High School had a frightening total of only 357, now 58, students. There were more than 700 people in my junior class back home. All the kids here had grown up together. Their grandparents had been toddlers together. I'd be the new girl from the big city, a curiosity, a freak. Who said that you'd be why? Why are you assuming these things? As a high schooler, as someone who was in their senior year of high school, and I have moved about 7 fucking times in my life, this has never been an issue. I've never felt like a freak, maybe a curiosity or maybe the new kid because it's fucking normal, but never a freak. I mean, what? Maybe if I look like a girl from Phoenix should, I could work this to my advantage. But physically, I never fit in anywhere. I should be tan, sporty, blonde, a volleyball player, or cheerleader perhaps. That's a fucking stereotype. All the things that go with living in the Valley of the Sun. No, that's like Beverly Hills that you just described. and said I was ivory-skinned without even the excuse of blue eyes or red hair. Despite the constant sunshine, I had always been slender but soft somehow, obviously not an athlete. I didn't have the necessary hand-eye coordination to play sports without humiliating myself, and harming both myself and anyone else who stood too close. So here, we're getting the flaws. We're getting flaws such as, I don't look how I'm supposed to look, I hate myself, and I'm not athletic.
Honey, you just described every single girl on the planet who is not in sports.
Yeah. When I finished putting my clothes in the old pine dresser, I took my bag of bathroom necessities and went to the communal bathroom to clean myself up after the day of travel. I looked at my face in the mirror as I brushed through my tangled, damp hair. Maybe it was the light, but already I looked sallower, unhealthy. My skin could be pretty. It was very clear, almost translucent looking. What? That's not pretty. And that's not healthy. Translucent looking skin is not healthy. She's like purple. That's what I'm imagining right now.
She's like Ezzy.
But it all... No, Ezzy is a solid color. He doesn't like... At least he has a reason. His blood is purple. Her blood is red. She should not be purple looking.
But you don't understand. She has to be something special.
Special snowflake!
Special snowflake.
Facing my pallid reflection in the mirror, I was forced to admit that I was lying to myself. It wasn't just physically that I'd never fit in, and if I couldn't find a niche in school with 3,000 people, what were my chances here? I didn't relate well to people my age. Maybe the truth was I didn't relate well to people, period. Even my mother, who I was closer to than anyone else on the planet, was never in harmony with me, never on exactly the same page. I'm not even in harmony with my mom or my dad. And I'm pretty fucking close to them. I'm not even in harmony with my best friend or my boyfriend 90% of the time.
The closest thing we have, like you and me have to harmony, is like when we sit back, laugh, and just shoot the shit, which is all we ever do. But even then,
yep.
I go crazy and you go, I'm gonna back off. Just out of nowhere.
Sometimes you get really mad at things that I'm just like, why do you care?
Like, but every now and again,
sometimes
like, I go off on like ways to kill things, and you're like, I'm gonna step away.
Well, it gets annoying. It's less like, oh, I'm freaked out. More like, oh, come the fuck on. Are you fucking serious? Stop it.
But I
just
must kill
fucking
the elves. The elves must die.
Just stop.
The elves.
Okay. Sometimes I wondered if I was seeing the same things through my eyes that the rest of the world was seeing through theirs. Maybe there was a glitch in my brain. But the cause didn't matter. All that mattered was the effect, and tomorrow would be just the beginning. I didn't sleep well that night, even after I was done crying. The constant whooshing of the rain and wind across the roof wouldn't fade into the background. I pulled the faded old coat over my head and later added the pillow too. I couldn't fall asleep until after midnight, when the rain finally settled into a quieter drizzle. Okay, seeing as you've gained hours from going from Phoenix to Seattle, I'm assuming you gained 1 hour at least.
Yeah.
So your day's longer an hour. And besides, most teenagers don't even go to sleep till after midnight. Why is this a fucking issue for you?
I don't know.
Thick fog was all I could see out my window in the morning. I don't know. She was just fucking crying for no reason. Thick fog was all I could see out my window in the morning, and I could feel the claustrophobia creeping up on me. You could never see the sky here. It was like a cage. Breakfast with Charlie was a quick event. He wished me good luck at school. I thanked him, knowing his hope was wasted. Good luck tended to avoid me. Charlie left first, off to the police station that was his wife and family. After he left, I sat at the old square oak table in one of the 3 unmatching chairs and examined his small kitchen table. With its dark paneled walls, bright yellow cabinets... Oh, sorry. examined his small kitchen, not his kitchen table, and white linoleum floor. Nothing changed. My mother had painted the cabinets 18 years ago in an attempt to bring some sunshine into the house. Over the small fireplace in the adjoining handkerchief-sized family room was a row of pictures. First, a wedding picture of Charlie and my mom in Las Vegas. Then one of the three of us in the hospital after I was born, taken by a helpful nurse. Followed by the procession of my school pictures up to last year.
So they had a
Those
Vegas
were embarrassing.
wedding?
Huh?
They had a Vegas wedding?
Apparently. Those were embarrassing to look at. I would have to see what I could do to get Charlie to put them somewhere else, at least where I was living here. It was impossible, being in this house, not to realize that Charlie had never gotten over my mom. It made me uncomfortable. Okay, what's so far as... There's one wedding picture, one picture of them both when she was born, which excuses Renee being in the picture, because my dad still has pictures of the day I was born, and my mom and dad are divorced and completely over each other.
Oh, yeah.
But it's because me and my brother were born, and that's why he has pictures of us as newborns. My dad still has a picture of me and my mom's wedding day, because it was a wedding. It was an important thing. God, she's such a twat.
Like, it's like... The way that, like, one of the characters here, like, talks with Charlie, from what I remember, it seems like he's still going out and doing things, like he's over her. So...
Yeah.
Like...
She's saying all these things, but she's not showing it. Like, it'd be different if it'd be different if, like, they showed something where Bella walks into Charlie's room to, like, give him something, or
and then
look
just simply says, like, these are the
he,
things she sees, and then you are left to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, and she says, like, she sees pictures of Renee on the wall still, and she knows that he still has pictures of her in his wallet, and shit like that. Then it would be like, wow, they aren't over, that he isn't over her. But there's none of that. There's none of the show. It's only
like,
tell.
Like, this is, like, you are supposed to tell here, but you can still show, which is so much better.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, leaving in gaps, that's a good thing.
Okay. I didn't want to be too early to school, but I couldn't stay in the house anymore. I donned my jacket, which had the feel of a biohazard suit, and headed out to the rain. I'm sorry that your jacket's made of fucking polyester plastic. It was just drizzling still, not enough to soak me thorough immediately. As I reached for the house key that was always hidden, the sloshing of my new waterproof boots was unnerving. I missed the normal crunch of gravel as I walked. I couldn't pause and admire my truck again as I wanted. I was in a hurry to get out of the misty wet that swirled around my head and clung to my hair under my hood. But it's drizzling.
I don't get it.
Why is it getting under your hood? Did you look up at the sky? Inside the truck, it was nice and dry. Either Billy or Charlie had obviously cleaned it up, but the tan upholstered seats still smelled faintly of tobacco, gasoline, and peppermint. The engine started quickly, to my relief, but loudly, roaring to life, then idling at top volume. Well, a truck this old was bound to have a flaw. The antique radio worked. A plus I had expected.
Flaw. That sounds awesome. Your truck sounds like a tank.
Well, some people don't like that.
I call
she obviously has self-image issues, so she's apparently afraid of drawing attention to herself, which is exactly what a loud-ass car will do.
What?
Finding the school wasn't difficult, though I'd never been there before. The school was, like most other things, just off the highway. It was not obvious that it was a school. Only the sign, which declared it to be Forks High School, made me stop. It looked like a collection of matching houses, but with maroon-colored bricks. There were so many trees and shrubs I couldn't see its size at first. Where was the feeling of the institution? I wondered nostalgically. Where were the chain-link fences? The metal detectors? Well, sorry, honey, you're not in a big-ass school. You're not in a big state-run school. You're in a little dinky-ass town school. You don't need that shit because everyone knows each other.
It's like, oh, who was that guy who did this? Oh, everybody just points at him. There he is.
It's fucking your town. My town's I live in like a small city, so it's a little bit harder. But we
Yeah.
don't have chain link fences and metal detectors. At least, like, not on the high school. On, like, the elementary schools and stuff, we have chain link fences.
We didn't even have that. Like, if you wanted to, you could just bolt off running at recess.
Ah. I parked in front of the first building, which had a small sign over the door reading front office. No one else was parked there, so I was sure it was off limits, but I decided I would get directions inside instead of circling around in the rain like an idiot. I stepped unwillingly out of the toasty truck cab and walked down a little stone path lined with dark hedges. I took a deep breath before opening the door. Inside it was brightly lit and warmer than I hoped. The office was small, a little waiting area with padded folding chairs, orange flecked commercial carpet, notices and awards cluttering the walls, a big clock ticking loudly. Plants grew everywhere in large plastic pots, as if there wasn't enough greenery outside. The room was cut in half by a long counter, cluttered with wire baskets full of papers and brightly colored flyers taped to its front. There were 3 desks behind the counter, one of which was manned by a large, red-haired woman wearing glasses. She was wearing a purple t-shirt, which immediately made me feel overdressed.
How?
So,
How do you feel overdressed?
I don't know, the only thing she described herself putting on was her fucking jacket. The red-haired woman looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm Isabella Swan," I informed her, and saw the immediate awareness in her eyes. I was expected. A topic of gossip, no doubt. The daughter of Chief's the daughter of the chief's flighty ex-wife, come home at last. "Of course," she said. She dug through the precarious stacked pile of documents on her desk till she found the ones she was looking for. "I have your schedule right here, and a map of the school." She had brought several sheets to the counter to show Roe? What the fuck?
I don't know. Let me look.
I don't know why that word is there. She went through my classes for me, highlighting the best route to each on the map, and gave me a slip to have each teacher sign, which I was to bring back at the end of the day. She smiled at me and hoped, like Charlie, that I would like it here in Forks. I smiled back as convincingly as I could. When I went back out to my truck, other students were starting to arrive, and I drove around the school, following the line of traffic. I was glad to see that most of the cars were older like mine, nothing flashy. At home, I lived in one of the few lower-income neighborhoods that were included in the Paradise Valley district. It was a common thing to see new Mercedes or Porsche in the parking lot. The nicest car here was a shiny Volvo, and it stood out. Still, I cut the engine as soon as I was in a spot, so that the thunderous volume wouldn't draw attention to me. I looked at the map in the truck, trying to memorize it now. Hopefully I wouldn't have to walk around with it stuck in front of my nose all day. I stuffed everything in my bag, swung the strap over my shoulder, and sucked in a huge breath. "I can do this," I lied to myself feebly. No one was going to bite me. I finally exhaled and stepped out of the truck. I kept my face pulled back into my hood as I walked to the sidewalk, crowded with teenagers. My plain black jacket didn't stand out, I noticed with relief. Once I got around the cafeteria, Building 3 was easy to spot. A large black 3 was painted on a white square on the east corner. I felt my breathing gradually creeping towards hyperventilation as I approached the door.
You have anxiety
I tried holding
issues.
She has worse anxiety than me.
I
And
know.
that's saying
And
something.
You have, like, anxiety attacks a lot.
I have them all the time, to the point where I take morphine grade opiates to, like, calm the fuck down. She has it worse than me. I tried holding my breath as I followed 2 unisex raincoats through the door. Yep, she just followed 2 unisexual raincoats.
Don't worry, that means
No
that
one's
they go
in them.
for everything. Get in the fuck box.
No, unisex means that they're one sex, they're not omnisexual.
No, forever omnisexual.
Forever omnisexual, like Ezreal. Okay, the classroom is small. The classroom was small. The people in front of me stopped just inside the door to hang up their coats on a long row of hooks. I copied them. There were two They were two girls, one a porcelain-colored blonde, the other also pale with light brown hair.
You
At least my skin
her
wouldn't
like
be
a China doll.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I describe Ezzy like that because he's actually that color.
Yes.
At least my skin wouldn't be a standout here. I took the slip up to the teacher, a tall, balding man whose desk had a nameplate identifying him as Mr. Mason. He gawked at me when he saw my name, not an encouraging response, and of course, I flushed tomato red. But at least he sent me to an empty desk at the back without introducing me to the class. It was harder for my new classmates to stare at me in the back, but somehow they managed. I kept my eyes down on the reading list the teacher had given me. It was fairly basic. Bronte, Shakespeare, I don't know how to pronounce that one, and Faulkner. I had already read everything. That was comforting and boring. I wondered if my mom would send me a folder of old essays, or if she would think that was cheating. I went through different arguments with her in my head while the teacher droned on. Well, aren't you just fucking pitch fucking perfect having read Shakespeare, Bronte, Chaucer, and Faulkner? Aren't you just fucking perfect for that?
Here's the thing. I had already read everything on the reading list in all my classes, too. The reason is because I don't have a life.
Yeah, and you also live in a small-ass town with nothing to do.
Phoenix! Go and Walter White it up.
There was shit to do in Phoenix. There's nothing to do where you live. Except for read. When the bell...
Play games Team Fortress 2.
When the bell rang, a nasal buzzing sound, a gangly boy with skin problems and hair as black as oil slick leaned across the aisle to talk to me. You're Isabella Swan, aren't you? He looked overly helpful, chess club type. Bella, I corrected. Everyone within a 3-seat radius turned to look at me. Where's your next class? He asked. I had to check in my bag. Government with Jefferson and Building 6? There was nowhere to look without meeting curious eyes. I'm heading toward Building 4. I could show you the way. Definitely over-helpful. I'm Eric, he added. I smiled tentatively.
Okay,
Thanks.
Already, the people at the school
Are being nice to her and offering... Yeah, it's totally over-helpful to say, hey, I'm gonna be heading past there. I can just show you the way.
Yeah, that is...
Totally over-helpful. I mean,
like, everybody's staring at her. No, like, everybody's staring at her. That's like the kind of stuff you do when everybody in town is in a cult. And you're not in the cult.
Yeah.
They shall anoint you with the blood of the innocent.
Yeah, but I mean, if everyone knows you're the new kid and you obviously don't know where everything in the school is and you're having an anxiety attack trying to find fucking Building 3, then, you know, it's not over helpful for someone to say, oh, I could show you the way.
To find it. She's had an anxiety attack walking towards the building.
Oh, good point. But still, she's such a bitch. She's like, oh, the first person to help me. Let me tell you that he has skin problems and his hair looks fucking greasy and he's just ugly as shit. He's all gangly, and you see how she describes him? You see, like, she describes him, like, really nastily, and all he's done is be nice to her? I mean, at least if he's ugly, you don't have to be such a twat about it. I mean, at least he's trying to help you. We got our jackets and headed out into the rain, which had picked up. I could have sworn several people behind us were walking close enough to eavesdrop. I hoped I wasn't getting paranoid. You're getting paranoid. So this is a lot different than Phoenix, huh? He asked. Very. It doesn't rain much there, does it? 3 or 4 times a year? Wow. What must that be like? He wondered. Sunny, I told him. You don't look very tan. My mother's part albino. He studied my face apprehensively, and I sighed. It looked like clouds and a sense of humor didn't mix. She's not being that. She's being so dead serious, though. She's giving him like the longest answer she gave him was 6 words, and that's when she said 3 or 4 times a year. Everything else has been like 1-word responses. A few months of this, and I'd forget how to use sarcasm. We walked back around the cafeteria.
No, you can use sarcasm all the time. The problem is, you're just being a bitch about it, and he's studying you because he's trying to figure out why you're being a bitch.
Yeah. We walked back around the cafeteria to the south buildings by the gym. Eric walked me right to the door, though it was clearly marked. Well, good luck, he said, as I touched the handle. Maybe we'll have some other classes together. He sounded hopeful. I smiled at him vaguely and went inside. How do you smile vaguely at someone? It's either a smile or not. It can be a small smile. It could be a unhopeful smile, but it can't be a vague smile.
Like a vague smile. Like you don't have vague smiles. Like either you smile or you don't.
Yeah, you can't vaguely smile. You can't be like, I might be smiling, but I might just have gas. It's not how it...
Like
the rest of the morning. The rest of the morning passed in about the same fashion. My trigonometry teacher, Mr. Varner, who I would have hated anyway just because of the subject he taught, was the only one who made me stand in front of the class and introduce myself. I stammered, blushed, and tripped over my own boots on the way to my seat. Shit, she's like so fucking stupid.
Like, oh,
and that's not a reason to hate the teacher.
Government. I'm sorry they don't want to learn about the way that the people who decide your life and what you do and how you pay your taxes.
Oh no, this is trigonometry. This is trigonometry.
Oh, trigonometry? That was its own government. Trigonometry. Okay, I can
understand
trigonometry.
She said her trigonometry teacher made her stand.
I thought
after two classes.
Government.
After 2 classes, I started to recognize several of the faces in each class. There was always someone braver than the others who would introduce themselves and ask me questions about how I was liking Forks. I tried to be diplomatic, but mostly I just lied a lot. At least I never needed the map. One girl sat next to me in both Trig and Spanish, and she walked with me to the cafeteria for lunch. She was tiny, several inches shorter than my 5 feet 4 inches, but her wildly curly dark hair made up a lot of the difference between our heights. I couldn't remember her name, so I smiled and nodded as she prattled about teachers and classes. I didn't try to keep up. She's such a cunt.
I hate her.
These people are they've been nothing but welcoming and receptive and nice to her. And she's just like, nope, you're not important. I'm not even going to bother to remember your name.
Here's the thing,
and everything you say is unimportant.
She was complaining
no
earlier
one's going to
about
accept
not finding her place.
And people are trying to be nice to her, and now she's just like, oh, fuck you.
Damn, girl.
We sat at the end of a full table with several of her friends, who she introduced to me. I forgot all their names as soon as she spoke them. Damn, you didn't even fucking try. They seemed impressed by her bravery in speaking to me. I don't see why that's impressive. The boy from English, Eric. Oh, thanks. I wouldn't have known that was your English class. Eric waved at me from across the room. I was there, sitting in the lunchroom, trying to make conversation with several curious strangers that I first saw them. Oh, here we go. This is the part we've all been waiting for.
The introduction of the blandest of
the vampires.
I'm sorry.
They were sitting in the corner of
After playing Vampire the Masquerade, you can't tell me that vampires are like that, ever, without telling me it's a Malkavian.
They were sitting in the corner of the cafeteria, as far away from where I sat as possible in the long room. There were 5 of them. They weren't talking, and they weren't eating, but they each had a tray of untouched food in front of them. They weren't gawking at me, like most of the other students, so it was safe to stare at them without fear of meeting an excessively interested pair of eyes. But it was none of these things that caught and held my attention. They didn't look anything alike. Of these boys, one was big, muscled like a serious weightlifter, with dark, curly hair. The other was taller, leaner, but still muscular, and honey blonde. The last was lanky, less bulky, with untidy, bronze-colored hair. He was more boyish than the others, who looked like they could be in college, or even teachers here rather than students. The girls were opposites. The tall one was statuesque. She had a beautiful figure, the kind you saw on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue,
Why
the kind that
are
made
there
every girl
fat,
around her take a
overweight,
hit on
ugly
her self-esteem.
vampires?
I don't know, when you become a vampire, it like fixes almost all your flaws, as explained in this book for some fucking reason.
Why?
I don't know. Oh no, there are some ugly vampires.
Well, then
They're
because
really
were-
old. Like as they get
Yeah, like that's only because they sat on
as
their
they get
asses and
really
did nothing.
old,
Like,
pretty
no,
much.
Yeah, that was the only reason that they started looking that way is because they sat on their asses and did nothing.
Yeah.
The kind you
The
saw
kind
on
that made
cover of
every girl
Sports
around
Illustrated swimsuit issue. Who even reads that thing anymore?
The kind that made every. Oh no, be quiet. The kind that made every girl around her take a hit on her self-esteem just by being in the same room. Oh well, fuck her. I don't like swimsuit illustrated girls most of the time. I think I'm fine the way I look.
Well, but who
Her
even
hair
reads-
was
who
golden,
even
gently
reads?
waving to the middle of her back.
Whoever even reads?
Huh?
Whoever even reads the swimsuit
They don't
issue?
read it, they just... Everyone only reads the swimsuit issue because it has chicks with their tits hanging out. I'm not
That's
kidding.
why you go online and see porn for free.
Well, people want it to stay in their bathroom. They don't want to have to like keep their laptop in their bathroom. I don't know.
That's
It's
why
just
you
something
use a
they can
lock
look
on the
at or
door.
put on their walls. Oh no, I don't know. People buy it because they like it. I don't know.
God.
The
Best way to
short
find a
girl was
closet
pixie-like. Damn it, man! I'm trying to read.
lesbian. You're trying to read shit.
Well, we just got to the shitty shit.
We did.
The short girl was pixie. Small features. Her hair was deep black, cropped short and pointing in every direction. And yet, they were all exactly alike. Every one of them was chalky pale, and the palest of all the students living in this sunless town. Paler than me, the albino. No, because albino would have blue eyes, or technically reddish eyes, and white hair. They all had very dark eyes despite their range in hair tones. They also had dark shadows under those eyes. Purplish, bruise-like shadows, as if they were all suffering from a sleepless night, or had almost done recovering from a broken nose, though their noses, all their features were straight, perfect, angular. Well, at least she described one thing that can be viewed as, like, unattractive, the purple bruise-like shadows under their eyes.
I like sunken eyes, though. They look like
I
little raccoon
don't.
masks.
It looks unhealthy. I don't like it.
Uh,
But all of this is not why I couldn't look away. I stared because their faces, so different, so similar, were all devastatingly, inhumanly beautiful. They were the faces you never expect to see except perhaps on the airbrushed pages of a fashion magazine, or painted by an old master as the face of an angel. It was hard to decide who was the most beautiful. Maybe the perfect blonde girl, or the bronze-haired boy. They were all looking away from each other, away from the other students, away from anything in particular as far as I could tell. As I watched, the small girl rose with her tray, an open soda, unbitten apple, and walked away with a quick, graceful lope that belonged on a runway. I watched, amazed at her lithe dancer's step, till she dumped her tray and glided through the back door, faster than I would have thought possible. My eyes darted back to the others, who sat unchanging. Who are they? I asked the girl from my Spanish class, whose name I'd forgotten. As she looked up to see who I...
You didn't forget her name. You didn't even bother to
You didn't
remember
even
the name. As you said before.
As she looked up to see who I meant, though already knowing, probably from my tone, suddenly he looked at her, the thinner one, the boyish one, the youngest perhaps. He looked at my neighbor for just a fraction of a second, and then his dark eyes flickered to mine. He looked away quickly, more quickly than I could, though in a flush of embarrassment I dropped my eyes at once. In that brief flash of a glance, his face held nothing of interest, and was as if she had called his name, and he looked up in an involuntary response, already having decided not to answer. My neighbor giggled in embarrassment, looking at the table like I did. That's Edward and Emmett Cullen, and Rosaline and Jasper Hale. The one who left was Alice Cullen. They all lived together with Dr. Cullen and his wife. she said under her breath. I
It's
glanced sideways at the beautiful... I glanced sideways at the beautiful boy, who was looking at his tray now, picking a bagel to pieces with long, pale fingers. His mouth was moving very quietly, his perfect lips barely opening. The other three still looked away, and yet I felt he was speaking quietly to them. Strange, unpopular names, I thought. Edward is an unpopular name? Alice is an unpopular name? The kind of name that grandparents had. Maybe it was in vogue. Maybe that was in vogue here. Small town names. I finally remembered that my neighbor was called Jessica. A perfectly common name. There were 2 girls named Jessica in my history class back home. They are very nice looking. I struggle with the conspicuous understatement. Yes, Jessica agreed with another giggle. They're all together, though. Emmett and Rosalie, and Jasper and Alice, I mean. And they live together. Her voice held all the shocking condemnation of the small town. I thought critically. But, if I was being honest, I had to admit that even in Phoenix, it would cause gossip.
No, it wouldn't.
Well, they're supposed to be foster siblings, like adopted siblings, and they're dating.
Okay, cool. Hey, show up at a house, you see someone, it's like, okay, cool. Wanna bang to make sure the blues go away?
Oh no, stop. Which ones are the Cullens? Which ones are the Cullens, I asked. They don't look related. Oh, they're not. Dr. Cullen is really young, in his 20s or early 30s. They're all adopted. The Hales are brother and sister. Twins, the blondes, and their foster children. They look a little old for foster children. They are now. Jasper and Rosalie are both 18, but they've been with Miss Cullen since they were 8. She's their aunt or something like that. That's really kind of nice for them to take care of all these kids like that, when they're so young and everything. I guess so, Jessica remitted reluctantly, and I got the impression that she didn't like the doctor and his wife for some reason. With the glances she was throwing at their adopted children, I would presume the reason was jealousy. Yes! Alright. Alright! Okay. I'll do it when I get done with the show. It's right. I think Miss Cullen can't have any kids, though, she added, as if that lessened their kindness. Through all this conversation, my eyes flickered again and again to the table where the strange family sat. They continued to look at the walls and not eat. Have they always lived in Forks? I asked. Surely I would have noticed them out on one of my summers here. No, she said in a voice that implied it should be obvious, even to a new arrival like me. They just moved down 2 years ago from somewhere in Alaska.
Oh, glorious Alaska. That place is that
where everyone is
vampire
pale.
movie.
I felt a surge of pity and relief. Pity because, as beautiful as they were outsiders, clearly not accepted. Relief that I wasn't the only newcomer here, and certainly not the most interesting by any standard.
Funny, you're not interesting if you tried.
I know. She's like a wet piece of wood or something.
She's a cardboard cutout that needs that like has too many stains on it. And I don't know where those stains came from.
As I examined them, the youngest, one of the Cullens, looked up and met my gaze. This time with evident curiosity in his expression. As I looked swiftly away, it seemed to me that his glance held some kind of unmet expectation. Which one is the boy with the reddish-brown hair? I asked, peeking at him from the corner of my eye. He was still staring at me, but not gawking like the other students had today. He had a slightly frustrated expression. I looked down again. That's Edward. He's gorgeous, of course, but don't waste your time. He doesn't date. Apparently none of the girls here are good-looking enough for him. She sniffed, a clear case of sour grapes. I wondered when he'd turned her down. I bit my lip to hide my smile, and then I glanced at him again. His face was... She just smiled at the fact that this girl got turned down.
I don't like her. I don't.
His face was turned away, but I thought his cheek appeared lifted, as if he were smiling too. After a few more minutes, the 4 of them left the table together. They were all noticeably graceful, even the big, brawny one, which was unsettling to watch. The one named Edward didn't look at me again. I sat at the table with Jessica and her friends longer than I would have if I'd been sitting alone. I was anxious not to be late for class on my first day. One of my new acquaintances, who considerately reminded me that her name was Angela, had biology 2 with me next hour. We walked to class together in silence. She was shy, too. When we entered the classroom, Angela went to sit at a black-topped lab table exactly like the ones I was used to. She already had a neighbor. In fact, all the tables were filled to but one. Next to the center aisle, I recognized Edward Cullen by his unusual hair, sitting next to a single open seat. As I walked down the aisle to introduce myself to the teacher and get my slip signed, I was watching him surreptitiously. Just as I passed, he suddenly went rigid in his seat. He stared at me again, meeting my eyes with the strangest expression on his face. It was hostile, furious. I looked away, quickly, shocked, going red again. I stumbled over a book in the hallway and had to catch myself on the edge of a table. The girl sitting there giggled. I noticed that his eyes were black, coal black. Mr. Ranner signed my slip and handed me a book with no nonsense about introductions. I could tell we were going to get along. Of course, he had no choice but to send me to the one open seat in the middle of the room. I kept my eyes down and went to sit by him, bewildered by the antagonistic stare he'd given me. I didn't look up as I set my book on the table and took my seat. I saw his posture change from the corner of my eye. He was leaning away from me, sitting on the extreme edge of his chair and averting his face like he smelled something bad. Inconspicuously, I sniffed my hair. It smelled like strawberries, the scent of my favorite shampoo. It seemed an innocent enough odor. I let my hair fall over my right shoulder, making a dark curtain behind us, and I tried to pay attention to the teacher. Between us, sorry. Unfortunately, the lecture was on cellular anatomy, something I'd already studied.
Well, what
I took
do you
notes.
do?
Yeah, what do you fucking do? I took notes carefully, anyway, always looking down. I couldn't stop myself from peeking occasionally through the screen of my hair at the strange boy next to me. During the whole class, he never relaxed his stiff position on the edge of his chair, sitting as far away from me as possible. I could see his hand on his leg was clenched into a fist, tendons standing out under his pale skin. This, too, he never relaxed. He had the long sleeves of his white shirt pushed up to his elbows, and his forearm was surprisingly hard and muscular beneath his light skin. But how do you know that?
I don't...
Did she touch him? How does she know that his forearm was hard and muscular?
Because, you know... Mormon Propaganda and Logic by Stephanie Meyer.
He wasn't nearly as slight as he looked next to his burly brother. The class seemed to drag on for longer than the others. It was because the day was finally coming to a close, or because I was waiting for his tight fist to loosen. It never did. He continued to sit so still it looked like he wasn't breathing. What was wrong with him? Was this his normal behavior? I questioned my judgment on Jessica's bitterness at lunch today. Maybe she was not as resentful as I thought. It couldn't have anything to do with me. He didn't know me from Eve. I don't know what that means. He didn't know me from Eve.
What's Eve?
Who is Eve?
Is Eve like a Mormon thing?
I don't know.
Cause,
I peeked up at him one more time and regretted it. He was glaring down at me again, his black eyes full of revulsion. As I flinched away from him, shrinking against my chair, the phrase of "if looks could kill" suddenly ran through my mind.
Well, that's because your blood sings to him, and he desires most of all to feast upon you.
Yes.
And I'm hoping he gives into this temptation in this edited version of the book.
And this edited version of it?
I'm hoping it's edited. I hope it's edited. I hope it's edited. I hope it's edited.
At the moment, the bell rang loudly, making me jump. Edward Cullen was out of his seat. Fluidly, he rose. He was much taller than I thought. His back to me. And he was out of the door before anyone else was out of their seat. I sat frozen in my seat, staring blankly after him. He was so mean. It wasn't fair. I began gathering up my things slowly, trying to block the anger that filled me. For fear my eyes would tear up. For some reason, my temper was hardwired to my tear ducts. I usually cried when I was angry, a humiliating tendency. Yes, because one single person hasn't treated you nice today. Aren't you Isabella Swan? A male voice asked. I looked up to see a cute, baby-faced boy, his pale blonde hair carefully gelled into orderly spikes, smiling at me in a friendly way. He obviously didn't think I smelled bad.
You know,
Bella, I corrected him, with a smile. I'm Mike. Hi, Mike. Do you need any help finding your next class? I'm heading to the gym, actually. I think I can find it. That's my next class, too. He seemed thrilled, though it wasn't that big of a coincidence in a school this small. We walked to class together. He was a chatterer. He supplied most of the conversation, which made it easy for me. He lived in California until he was 10, so he knew how I felt about the sun. It turned out he was in my English class also. He was the nicest person I'd met today. But as we were entering the gym, he asked, "So, did you stop Edward Cullen with a pencil or what? I've never seen him act like that." I cringed, so I wasn't the only one who had noticed, and apparently that wasn't Edward Cullen's usual behavior. I decided to play dumb. "Was that the boy I sat next to in biology?" I asked artlessly. "Yes," he said. "He looked like he was in pain or something." "I don't know," I responded. "I never spoke to him." "He's a weird guy." Mike lingered by me instead of heading to the dressing room. "If I were lucky enough to sit by you, I would have talked to you." I smiled at him before walking through the girls' locker room door. He was friendly and clearly admiring, but it was enough to ease my irritation. So she's irritated at him because he's talking to her and being nice. The gym teacher, Coach Clapp, found me a uniform that didn't make me dress down for today's class. At home, only 2 years of RE were required. Here, PE was mandatory all 4 years. Forks was literally my personal hell on earth. I watched 4 volleyball games running simultaneously, remembering how many injuries I had sustained and inflicted playing volleyball. I felt faintly nauseated. The final bell rang at last. I walked slowly to the office to return my paperwork. The rain had drifted away, but the wind was strong and colder. I wrapped my arms around myself. When I walked to the warm office, I almost turned around and walked back out. Edward Cullen stood at the front desk in front of me, recognizing again that tousled bronze hair. He didn't appear to notice the sound of my entrance. I stood pressed against the back wall, waiting for the receptionist to be free. He was arguing with her in a low, attractive voice. I quickly picked up the gist of the argument. He was trying to trade from 6-hour biology to another time. Any other time. I just couldn't believe that this was about me. It had to be something else, something that happened before I entered the biology room. The look on his face must have been about another aggravation entirely. It was impossible that this stranger could take such a sudden, intense dislike to me.
What?
No. I am a stranger. I've taken a sudden, intense dislike to you.
Like the first entrance we had to your thoughts, we just decided to hate you.
Yep. The door opened again, and the cold wind suddenly gusted through the room, rustling the papers on the desk, swirling my hair on the face. The girl who came in merely stepped to the desk, placed a note in the wire basket, and walked out again. But Edward Cullen's back stiffened, and he turned slowly to glare at me. His face was absurdly handsome, with piercing, hate-filled eyes. For an instant, I felt a thrill of genuine fear, raising the hair on my arms. The look only lasted a second, but it chilled me more than the freezing wind. He turned back to the receptionist. "Never mind," he said hastily in a voice like velvet. "I can see that it's impossible, so thank you so much for your help." And he turned on his heel without another look at me, and disappeared out the door. I went meekly to the desk, face white for once instead of red, and handed her the signed slip. "How did your first day go, dear?" the receptionist asked maternally. "Fine," I lied. My voice was weak. She didn't look convinced. When I got to the truck, it was almost the last car in the lot. It seemed like a haven. Already the closest thing to home I had in this damp green hole. I sat inside for a while, just staring out the windshield blank. But soon I was cold enough to need a heater, so I returned the key and the ignition roared to life. I headed back to Charlie's house, fighting tears the whole way there.
Oh, first chapter done.
Whoop whoop.
And this only took us an hour to do it. An hour and 8 minutes. Oh boy.
I gotta figure out a way to cut this.
I'm not going to. It'll be an episode of this will be a chapter of it.
Oh my god.
Well,
Alright.
Okay. So, our notes so far.
Bella's a bitch?
Check.
She's really a bitch.
Check.
She has the oogly googly needy eyes for Edward already.
Mm-hmm. And Edward is showing the fact that he is a predator. And nobody has noticed that they're vampires.
Well, in their defense, they go away when it's sunny.
And nobody notices that they all go away when it's sunny.
Huh?
and nobody notices when they all go.
No, they notice, but it's kind of like a, oh, we go on a camping trip.
Yeah, no. I call bullshit on that.
No, that's really the excuse in the book.
I'm still calling bullshit.
No, I'm being so serious. That's the excuse in the book, and people are kind of like, okay.
You know, I know that's the excuse in the book, and I call bullshit on them falling for it.
They do.
Like, there's gotta be some, like, nut job who believes in supernatural.
Oh yeah, all the Indians on the Indian reservation.
Well, yeah, other than them.
Other than them, I don't know. Remember, we don't deal with a huge amount of characters in the book.
Yeah, we deal with a small, select few number of idiots.
Yeah, we do.
Anyways.
We don't ever hear gossip about. They're really fucking weird. Like, they just sit there at lunch quietly, and they never eat, and they never talk, and they always look like they're sick. Because that would be the first fucking words that fly out of my mouth. It wouldn't be, oh my god, they're beautiful. I'd be like, the first things that would have came out of my head were, wow, they look like they've all had plastic surgery. That's really sad.
The first thing that would come out of my mouth is, why are they so pale?
Yeah, then my next one would be, did they bleach their skin? They're really pale.
It's like, it wouldn't take me more than 2 times after they go whenever the sun is out to make me go, oh, they're vampires.
But they're not ever really out when the sun's out. I think it has to be like full sunshine. Like cloudless days would work, because if it's just
I think the rules here are just so complex and convoluted.
The rules are really convoluted. I think for it to hit them, it has to be direct sunlight. Like inside lights doesn't do it.
It's so stupid.
I don't know. She tried to explain it with some like, oh, here's some science. And so, if she had just been like, okay, this is magic. Magic exists in this universe. Whatever, deal with this shit. It would have been it would have been easier to swallow. But she doesn't do that. She tries to be all scientific with it.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, anyways, that's all for this episode to Psychopaths read Twilight.
Bye, Internet.
We're gonna space out the next one with perhaps a comic book issue or something. Because I can't go with 2 episodes in a row of Twilight.
Nah, Twilight next.
No.
Yeah.
No mas.
Yeah.
No
Bye,
mas.
Internet.
Goodbye, Internet.